Hello there, Sir from 17 once again. This is my Dishonored, Death of the Outsider, very hard difficulty, merciful and ghostly/ghost walkthrough. This is the third mission of the game and it's called the bank job. So, very similar beginning point as we move from the boat and from Dowd. We move to the vehicle, it takes us to the sandbox, and we begin playing in this stealth masterpiece that is the Dishonored fun mechanics. This level is easily the most intricate and complex on a mechanical scale. It has you doing quite a lot to get this done. And there's even more to this if you choose to accept it. However, because there is no stipulation for no alerts, I didn't avoid them by doing the optional mission. So if you watch the previous video, I mentioned I'm going to be setting off 2 alarms in this particular video, and it's something to do with moving the vault. When you do this without knocking everybody out inside of the building, it sets off an alarm. I don't know this for certain, I just did a Google search the other day to see if anybody had set off the alarm as well, and there was something speaking about doing a perfect robbery where you have to gas a load of people by doing a side mission. So if you're wondering where the alert comes from, it's that. It has nothing to do with you. It's one of those things where you can do this without being spotted and it still sets off that alarm. And alas, because there is no, 0 alerts for the entire game achievement, it's not part of the walkthrough, so I'm just not going to focus on that right now. So, as a testament to the quality of the game design that is found within, you can do a side mission here that involves finding, I believe, the bank manager, and from that side mission, it shows you a corpse that is hanging next to a cliff that gives you a key that allows me to get into the bank in a very easy manner. You don't have to do the side mission to find the corpse and the key. That to me is beautiful design. There are so many games that come out even in current year that will have you do arbitrary tick boxes to allow something to happen, and this is not one of them. And that is fantastic, dynamic, beautiful design. And it works in a few places. The second place where it works is when it comes to doorways. There are doorways that require codes, and if you know what the code is, you can go through it without having found the code. That being said, on the final mission, there is one code that changes randomly. My first run it was 450, second run it was 837, but the good news is you can save at the doorway where the code is needed, go and find the code, reload, and then just put it in because it doesn't change, which is really, really cool, and I'm going to use that, and you should too, because it saves a lot of time. So this area here, we take a little fall damage from the blink there. I have been able to make that blink without taking fall damage, but because I wasn't worried about doing anything like no damage for this game, because there's no real point, I never get seen, so nothing attacks me. So technically I don't take any damage from the enemies, but a lot of people count fall damage as damage, because it is damage, it makes sense. In this courtyard, there are a few ways that you can try approaching the bank. One of them is to repower an elevator that the painters were using to go up onto the roof. But to do this, you have to carry one of those whale generators from the opposite side of the front of this place all the way back here. And you have to dodge dogs, you have to dodge enemies that are patrolling. It's actually a really difficult path. It took me a while to even do it, and I was thinking, this can't be the easiest way. I was wasting so much time trying to carry it from here to back where we just were, and then when I finally did it, that's when I thought to myself, I'll try see what the side missions were like, because I was convinced I'd not done the best method, and this is not going to be helpful, because it was tough, guys. It was really awkward. Fiddly. Super fiddly. No blinking as well. So I ended up doing the side mission, and that's how I found out about the key, and the key was such a lifesaver. So right now, I believe they want you to use semblance and do something fancy here, but I just shoot that button with the crossbow, and it puts me inside. That could be the intended way to do it, I'm not too sure, but that's the way that I figured it out, so in we are. And now you have to open this bad boy up, and we can continue onwards. So once you're inside the bank is actually really cool, but because it's got a central elevator shaft with staircases around it and there's a lot of going up and down, it reminds me a lot of that, was it like an asylum from Dishonored 2? You know where the bloodflies were there and there was the woman who had a split personality and she was a murderer and like a psychopath? It reminds me of that level a lot. But blink up onto the lighting. If you don't, you'll get killed by those pillar of lights. And then once you're in this main hall, you can blink up onto that second floor quite comfortably without being spotted, because there's only one guard up there and he's asleep. So from here, we're going to climb up this balustrade, and we're going to go across to where the elevator is, just in front of us. Or where the vault is, sorry. And then we're going to blink on top of that piece of decoration. from the top of this decoration, we're going to be moving down the bottom left past where that crazy metallic clockwork soldier is, and we're going to be following that energy cable because we need to get rid of that big wall of light. And that's some collision on the blink, which is really unfortunate and kind of annoying. But if you blink down here and land on the desk, you can land just here and get back up onto those lights before anybody sees you. And if you look to your right, there is a lady patrolling, so be very careful of her. She can get in the way. But from here we're going to be moving into this store cupboard down there where the light is, and we're going to be removing the whalebone generator. This is going to open up the access to the elevator and access to the staircase, which is what we need to do to get both up and down. On my original practice run of this level, I only set off one alarm. On the recording run I set off two, and I couldn't tell you why I set off more alarms this time, but the difference being is I moved the elevator way more on my first attempt, yet set off less alarms, because I didn't know the layout of the level. So what I'm doing now is I'm going downstairs first to get the code for security, so I don't have to mess about going up to go down to go up again, because I'm going to send the vault to the director's office and we're just going to go up from here. But for whatever reason, doing it in that more efficient manner set off an extra alarm. So one of those strange things. I've only played this game twice, guys. I've only done this level twice, so I don't know everything about it, but this path will definitely help, and it will not void your achievements, so don't worry. Here's me wrestling getting through a grate because it won't crouch, because it's an autonomous crouch, it's not a manual crouch, and we're going to nick from him the passcode. There it is, turn around, and then get the hell out of dodge. But be careful, guys, because there's a lot of dynamic stuff that's about to occur, so now that I've nicked the codes off of him, when we go forward here, the alarm's going to go off. So, answers on a postcard how I triggered the alarm, but whatever. And then it's going to make everybody slightly alert, and it's going to make them move around. And when they do this, all cohesion and predictability goes out the window, because it changes the positions of people. Like, is it because I stood on top of this? Is this got some kind of proximity sensor that set off the alert? I don't really know, but it doesn't matter. So I'm going to sit on top of this plate until somebody passes me, because I know that there's supposed to be one person patrolling down these stairs, and I could hear her, or him. So I'm just going to wait for that person, then I'm going to move past them, and then we're going to start moving upwards towards the security area so that we can move the vault, and then we're going to go to the vault. But this takes a little while, guys, so my piece of advice: when you have to wait for a large period of time to see any kind of animation play out, any kind of scripted event, dialogue, that kind of thing, wait until the trigger that you need and then save. Like, a good example is, if two people are talking, and then at the end of a certain word, one of them turns around, if you know what word it is and you save just as that word is happening, you know you've got a window when they turn around to do something. And I'm going to use that in 2 or 3 areas of this walkthrough. So that's the kind of thing you need to be thinking about. You need to be thinking about the audio cues, the visual cues, when you have space, when you don't have space, doing things that you don't think are going to work and then getting surprised by the results. Like, this is an interesting one as well. To my right, there's a woman trying to get into security. This is how you figure out that you need a code, because this is where the game tells you it dynamically rather than being like, your dog, go get this code, which it does afterwards. So she's going to walk away because we need to say this code. We just got that code off the guy's belt. That's where she's going to go. So she's going to turn around, walk past the way we came, go into the elevator and go downstairs. But because we have to talk into this machine, when she turns around, you can't blink behind her and activate the door, because the door isn't instanced, so it doesn't freeze the world and make you invincible and invisible and everything and silent. It actually keeps you in the game. So if you hit the door now as she walks away, she turns around and you get fucked. So you have to wait for her to call the elevator and then go downstairs in the elevator before moving, because if you don't, you're going to set off an alarm, or you're going to get detected, which is actually what the bad thing is. The alarms don't matter on this level for whatever reason. So I wait for the door to open, I blink over here, and then I watch for the lighting to change as it goes down. So you can see the door shut, you see the lift go down, now I hit this. If you do that earlier, you get in trouble. And it's awesome because it makes sense and it adds to the cohesion of the world, but there's a part of me that the moment she turns around, I want to be behind her and activating that door and carrying on, because they're the strategies I love to make. I love the idea of or there's no gap in this pattern, he just walks around and never gives me an opening. And then if you notice, at the very beginning of it, he turns around and gives you an opening, and then instead of waiting around for 20 minutes, you just zap past him and you get it done. I love that kind of strategy. But I remembered as I went in that room that I forgot to unlatch this doorway. If you don't unlatch this doorway, it makes a strategy later on much more difficult to do. So make sure you unlatch that door, do it while she's talking, save some time, and then go back this way. Sorry about that, folks, I brain farted. But this next zone is really interesting to me, because they want you to use semblance to go across the electrified floor, plant a blink position, and then blink across without being damaged. I didn't know this at the time because I've been playing without using semblance, so I just came up with my own strategy because I love to stand on top of doors. So I see a door, and to me it's a platform. So boom, I open the doorway, I blink on top of it, and then from here, there's just enough spaces to blink so that I don't have to touch the floor, and it's beautifully elegant design. It's so wonderful. The only issue is we have to wait a little bit because we're blinking a lot and we have to wait for the energy to come back. And one thing that I find quite interesting about the whole idea, you know that now that we've got the ability to get the energy back by itself, would it have really hurt them to make it come back quicker? Because let's face it, there's not many opportunities in this game where you have to blink a lot. And even if there is, you can blink 3 times in a row, right? So the speed of the regen doesn't really impact too much, but it's put in there for balance reasons. So I feel like it could be way faster and it wouldn't impact the game all that much at all anyway, because blink is so powerful. But be careful here, guys. When this second alert happens, which is about to happen now, the guy who you just walked past at that desk who was asleep, he's going to start moving. And he's going to walk into the office you were just in, so be very careful. But now we're moving upwards, we're going towards the director's office, and we're going to make the AI all go crazy again and start moving and stuff, and it makes it a little bit more difficult. There you go, second alarm. I'm a terrible player. And then we're going to go through the bathroom, and then we're going to go from here up onto the lights. So this is where this gets really chaotic, and it's probably going to be very different on your screen than it is on mine. On my first recording run here, I didn't have these people running up here, because I think I moved the vault differently and they just never stayed around. They came and they looked, and then they went away. These 2 people continued doing what they're doing right now, and then the lady walked away, and she stood by this desk with her back to me. So everything from this point forward was super simple, super easy, and it wasn't a problem at all. On my recording run, we have guards that have never been in this room before, standing in this room. And it changed exactly how I had to do this. So your game might not be the same, but the ideas are the same. The concepts are ubiquitous in every game. We need to wait for a moment when nobody can see us, where we can touch that button on the desk and grab the key from that painting on the wall. Once again, an evil scientist put a piece of paper underneath the key that you're going to grab before the key, thus slowing your progress to grabbing said key and getting out of dodge, which is really frustrating, and I wish he would be fired because I don't like that man. But all I'm going to do, the moment she turns around, I grab the key, it's going to give me an autosave, I'm going to turn around, and I'm going to try and put myself in cover, and then go back on the light. Depending where the people are, will depend on how easy that is for you to do. That might not work for you, but wait for the opportunity where it does. There will be a moment, it might be subtle, it might be short, but there will be a moment where both of those people are not looking that way. Use it, grab that key, and then hope that you don't get what's about to happen to me. So they move back into position. Fun story, you know, if I blink down to the door, they can't see me because they're blocking each other's vision. So this is a perfect opportunity to rob the bank. But what happens on my game is, the moment I open the door, 2 dudes start coming in the room. One of them stands bang near where you're looking right now. The other guy stands behind the women up against the balustrade looking this way. So it puts almost an impossible pattern on my lap for no reason other than just to fuck me, basically. And I don't know why it did it, but the moment my guy turns around, I have an opening to open this door. It's a hold button, which is kind of annoying. Open the door, get back on the light. Once again, this is where things get super dynamic. So this guy moves away, the guy behind me moves away, but I saved and tried a few different methods, and each time they moved in different patterns. So fortune favours the bold. I just decided to go for it. I blinked into the room, boom, grabbed the sword, and now I have an opening to get out. Hopefully nobody's looking, and I blink back up onto the light, and you'll notice none of the arrows or the lightning are showing up on my screen. I'm on the light, it's giving me tutorials, it's auto-saving like a bitch, and boom, we're done. We've got the knife, we just have to get down now. So we know there's one guy patrolling that way, so if I drop down here, I shut the door, this guy's going to turn around at some point, so I go above him, and all we need to do is wait for him to turn around. He gives it me now, but I didn't know his pattern, so I wasn't used to it. But did you see how small the pattern was? He walks that way, he quickly turns around. So all we do now is we wait for him to repeat it. The moment we see him move, we drop down, we know we're safe, and then we've got a clean path out of the place, and we're nearly done with the level. So just wait for him, he's going to talk to himself. They've got a whole bunch of interesting dynamic information that happens when you watch them. But just wait for him to move. Scratches his nose, he's going to turn. See him? That's how you know he's going to turn, because he readies himself. And then we drop down, and then we're good. He sees me a little bit, I get another autosave thanks to the game's generous autosave, and the door I told you to unlatch is now able to move through. So, fun story, on my first run through this, on my practice run, all those people that were congregating in that room that made it more difficult were on this balcony waiting to go through that door. And it was so strange, guys, because if I waited and I never moved, none of them came through the door. If I moved forwards, every single one of them came through the door. It was the most trolley bullshit you've ever seen. It was so frustrating. It took me about 15 minutes to go through a single bloody door. It was so weird. And I'm so glad it didn't happen on this run. But if it happens to you, you know exactly what I mean. So wait for the lady to move to the left, blink past her, hit this door, it will instance you into the next part of the level, and you've done with the bank. And all we need to do now is repeat the footsteps that took us here, but do it in reverse. So, this time we're not going to be using the crossbow, this time we can actually use the dissolve feature. So I'm going to put a teleport into there, I'm going to move over here, I'm going to hit the button, and then I'm going to turn around and blink into the dustbin, just like that. I was just testing to see where the detection was, so here we go, fighting with said detection. But there's the thing, press the button, and then blink, and boom, we're inside the dumpster. Getting out is one of those things, right? I don't know if you agree with me on this. When I play Dishonored, one of the things that kind of irks me a little bit about this game, and it was in the other ones as well, is I like games usually where getting out is a different path to getting in. I like the idea of the level having a specific entry area and a specific exit area. And of course, because there's so much options to go in different ways on this game, you can do that. You can enter one way and exit a different way. That is a very valid strategy. But I oftentimes find that the path I got in is my favoured path of getting out. You just have to reverse engineer it. And I kind of don't like that. I kind of don't like regurgitating a path to get out. To me, it feels like these games would benefit if there was some kind of shift from doing the mission and then there was a different exfiltration point. Because it just seems like once you get half the puzzle, you repeat that puzzle in reverse to get the other half. And it's got an appeal. I can imagine people might quite like that, but it's one of those things where I think that they're missing out on half a level of enjoyment. Because can you imagine if we had to go the other side of the bank to get out, where somebody was waiting for us, and you had to do the paths and everything for that part of the level that was completely different to this part of the level? I think that'd be cool and be more interesting. Of course, it's more expensive, so maybe that's why it doesn't work that way, but it's always been the thing that Dishonored's done. You get in, you get out the same way you came in. It's kind of the Dishonored thing. It's a little bit like Hitman, where you get your pattern and then you just kind of come back on that pattern and it works. And in Hitman it makes sense because it's one of those things that I think has always been the appeal, right? You're a surgical assassin sent in there to do a precise strike, everything is planned, and you exit the way you came in, nobody knows you were there, it's perfect. Whereas I don't know if it suits Dishonored the same way, even though, you know, it is Dishonored in a lot of ways when you think about it, because it's what you do in all the levels. But I noticed on this DLC, I would do the mission, and then they go, oh, we've got to get back to the boat, and then I'd immediately kind of go, oh, I've got to go back through all the things I've just bloody done. And don't get me wrong, I still enjoy doing it, and I still think it holds up really well, and it's a fun game, but there's definitely a part of me that kind of thinks, wouldn't it be cool if you had to get on the roof and then somebody flew past in like a Leonardo da Vinci machine and carried us away? You know, something different. But maybe that's just because I play these games in a very particular manner where I use the same paths. Maybe you do that and you have that fantastical ending, but I've always kind of felt like you kind of feel like you're just backtracking your way out every time you do a mission, and it'd be nice if they mix that up a little bit, because I don't think it's as interesting as it could be. But there you go, folks. You'll notice 2 alarms, and yet I still get ghostly. I was never detected technically, but those alarms are almost pre-programmed unless you do something about them. And that's just not necessarily, because we still get the bonus. So thank you very much for watching. I hope that helps, and you take care now.